Hello, thank you for joining me. This is Cooking with Cod3Theory, episode 7. Today I'm going to be showcasing how to cook a recipe that's near and dear to my heart. It's goulash. Goulash has been in my family for as long as I can remember. My mom taught me how to make it, her mom taught her, so on and so forth. The origins of goulash, it originally was Hungary, but I'm part Polish, so I don't know. The correlation doesn't really make much sense to me. Anyway, this is one of my favorite dishes I've been eating for as long as I can remember. What you're going to need for this is a slow cooker. You don't necessarily have to use a slow cooker, but this is the method I'm using today. I have a pan with some oil in it ready to go. So what I'm going to be, and then I also have about a cup and a half of onion and 2 Roma tomatoes here. That's going to be going into my crock pot slow cooker. So the first thing we're going to do, you want to get your pan preheated, oiled up. So that's pretty good. I'm going to use about a pound of ground beef for this. About a pound of ground beef right here. Break that up a little bit. I'll season it in a second. What's interesting about goulash is that there are many different variations of goulash. So traditionally, it's onions, some chopped tomatoes. It's more like a spaghetti except with macaroni noodles essentially. But again, there are many different variations depending on the region. But the research I did, it's nice to see that goulash is pretty popular among other cultures and things like that. So I'm going to add some seasoning. I'm going to be using some Montreal steak seasoning, some ground paprika, some oregano, a little bit of salt, and some pepper. These can vary, the seasonings used can vary. Basically, you want kind of a nice, like, Italian seasoning. And you'll notice I don't use measurements half the time. And the reason being is, like, if you have a pan like this, if I go, like, one time around the pan, I know that's a tablespoon. That's just, so if I go twice, that's 2 tablespoons. And some oregano. You could add parsley as well if you wanted to. Some pepper. And paprika. Paprika, this is optional, you don't have to add paprika. I'm adding it just to enhance the flavor. That's really the only reason. I'm going to mix this up some. Break that up a little bit more. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to turn my slow cooker on to low. And I'm going to add, you could use any traditional sauce you wanted to at home. You could make your own if you wanted to. It's up to you. So I'm going to add pretty much a whole can of that. And then I'm going to add the tomato onion mixture as well. Set that aside. A nice little ladle here so I can mix that up some. Come in and see that. It's a nice little, kind of like almost like a chili, so you definitely want it to be chunky. So we're going to let that get to temp, and then we're going to add about half a pound of macaroni. myself some. A little trick, what I'm going to get ready to do here, once I mix this up some more, I'm going to add a little flour to this. And what that's going to do is it's going to like enhance the flavor. If you cook a lot of stews and stuff, you know that if you add flour to any kind of meat, like ground beef particularly, and then you put it in a slow cooker or a crock pot, it really enhances the flavor of the overall meal. So definitely something I would recommend. You'll see me do that here in a minute. And I'm getting this pretty broken up, as you can tell. Breaking this up pretty good. If you wanted to keep it a little chunky, totally can. Again, goulash is pretty versatile. So now you'll notice I have this kind of like halfway cooked. Maybe not like this right here, but I don't want to add flour too early or too late. So you want to add flour to your ground beef somewhere kind of like right about now, like in the middle of the cooking process. So not before it's done, but not while it's like while you just started cooking it. And I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this, but I'm guessing I'm probably just gonna use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of flour. You don't want to overdo it, so you'll see in a minute why. Definitely need a little more. And what this process is called, you're browning the flour, and it's a very popular technique used in many restaurants across pretty much everywhere. I'm gonna turn this down some to like a mid-low, and just kind of work that flour in. Basically what I want the flour, I don't want the meat to cook anymore, I want the flour to kind of brown to the meat. That is what I'm looking for. So I'll probably add another tablespoon, probably 2 more tablespoons of flour. Let's see what that does. It should get like chunky. The oil that you have in the pan, it should mix with the oil and kind of like, you shouldn't have any liquid in the pan if you do it right. And your ground beef will start to stick back together real well. That is what you want. That is what you're looking for. And you can kind of, hopefully you can see that from where you're watching. I'm kind of starting to see it kind of clump together, kind of brown. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And this is just better, it's better for stew, or if you're using the crock pot like I am for this goulash recipe right now. And you could totally cook the ground beef from raw in the slow cooker. The technique I'm using, it's just like I said, it's going to provide an overall better flavor for the meal. I'm going to add just like one, A good trick, like I obviously add a little too much flour, I can get a spoon and very carefully take the excess over to the sink. It's kind of the thing about cooking, you're going to make mistakes. It's all good. Yeah, this is what I want. You can probably see that it looks starting to look to me like stew meat. There's no liquid in the pan. This is going to start to kind of brown and crisp up, which again is great for slow cooking meat. Cheap alternative to actually like buying, like rib meat for a slow cooker or something more, expensive. So this is done. So we're going to turn this off. Let's stir this a little bit. So we can go ahead. This isn't quite too temp yet, or the temp that I want it to be, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and add some of these noodles to this mixture. We're not going to add this ground beef yet. What I want is I'm probably going to let this cook for about an hour, hour and a half with the noodles and get the noodles to soften up before I reintroduce the ground beef. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. I'm going to come over here to kind of eyeball this. You also want to know they are going to enlarge a little bit, so definitely keep that in mind if you're trying this recipe at home, that you don't want to put too much macaroni. They're definitely going to get, I think it's like two to three times bigger. So that's actually not even, that's a little less than half of a pound of pasta, and I think that'll work. So I'm going to let that just sit for, again, I'm going to let this sit on low for about an hour, hour and a half. In the meantime, check me out on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Cod3, COD3THEORY. There's a whole ton more music on there that can't really be shown on the video. So, and we'll check back and we'll get this when we add the ground beef. I'm also going to be making garlic bread from scratch using garlic butter that I made. So I went ahead and I added the ground beef to this. I went ahead and I turned it up as well. So this is just about ready. You can see in there. I didn't actually use the whole pound of ground beef. So normally I would have done like a portion size to feed 4 to 6, but this looks like maybe 2 to 3, which is still okay. So if you wanted to make 4 to 6, you would just need some more spaghetti sauce. Next thing I'm going to do is make from scratch garlic bread. What you'll need for that is French bread, fresh French bread, or a baguette, cheese, which is optional, and some garlic butter, which I have. I just stuck this in the freezer just momentarily. Garlic butter is surprisingly simple to make. All you have to do is take 1 pound of garlic and 3 to 4 garlic cloves. You melt the butter in a pot, and then you put the garlic, you let it cool, put the garlic in, mix it up, and then you freeze it. And then when you're ready to use it, you let it thaw out a little bit so it's still hard. So that's what I have. That's what's in here. This is just something. I actually used this Smart Balance olive oil mixture. So you don't necessarily have to use butter. You can use a butter substitute as well. You can even season. You can add other things in besides garlic, like parsley, oregano, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut. I'm going to do 2 pieces. So I'm just going to basically cut it in half. And then I'm going to cut it in half again, long ways. And just take this garlic butter, spread that on, and you do, so that's the reason why I froze this a little bit before use, is because of the spread. Just spreads a little bit easier and a little thicker on there, which is good for using garlic for garlic bread. So I'm just getting, and again, you could use as much or as little garlic butter as you wanted. And you'll also notice that I'm doing this on top of a cutting board just because it's easier, it's less messy. I'm going to add cheese to these. And if you do this, it's much better and it's much cheaper than if you were to buy like frozen garlic bread. I guarantee you. I'm going to put these in. So I have this pan, I already sprayed the pan down, I already have my oven at 350, and I'm going to put them on kind of towards like the top shelf, but not all the way there, and those just take about 5 to 8 minutes to cook, depending on how many you cook at once. And then you can come back over here. This should be pretty much ready. And if you want to get a good look in there, this is my version of traditional goulash. This is what I remember eating growing up. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Check me out. I'm on Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram, Mixcloud. It's Cod3Theory, Cod3 Theory. Again, thank you for joining me.